Good morning. Today is a special edition of Gary's Movie Emporium, and it's going to be a wild eye review this morning. It's for the movie Bundy Reborn, aka The Inflicted. It's from 2012, and it was directed by Matt and Harris, and the screenplay was also done by Matt and Harris. Uh, Basically, the plot is David. What was his last name? David O'Hara uh, stars in the movie. Well, his character, David O'Hara, is a troubled medical student, kidnaps, rapes, and murders young women. Very much in the same way as Ted Bundy did. Only I felt like this killer was more like a Jeffrey Dahmer. The way he looked, not really what he did, more or less, but uh, in an effort to replace the family he lost, Daniel snatches this one girl named Melissa, and it's later um, revealed she was impregnated by him, and police department rescue her before she gives birth. Uh, and then David gets away and does a more or less a rampage attack on any woman he spots. He's out there tracking down women. Uh, his father's played by Bill Moseley, who plays Mr. O'Hara. Matt and Harris. Well, I didn't even know that Matt and Harris directed this too. I just noticed that. Sid Haig, Dr. Gardner, is in this. He's in it all right, but not an awful lot. Doug Bradley is in it too, as well as Agent Wilson, and Giovanni Lombardo Radice plays Lieutenant Lorenzo. Pretty alright little cast. Bill Moseley, out of the three mainstays in horror, uh, is in it the most out of Doug Bradley, Sid Haig, and Bill Moseley. But trying to see here. Well, basically, it's about this guy named David who, like I said, he very much. I think they're going for the Ted Bundy thing here because it says Ted Bundy or Bundy Reborn, the Inflicted. He's going around killing women, and the police are noticing that all these girls are starting to go missing, and police are baffled. But they they get onto his trail because uh, one of the girls that goes missing, David, was last seen with her. So a police detective starts to question him about where he was and where did he see her last. And David kind of just plays dumb and tells him, "Oh, I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her in forever." And uh, cop's not buying it anyway, or the detective is not buying it, and he stakes out David's house, and he notices Dave. He's taking bags out to the road like they're heavy, and he can't carry them too good, and detective kind of like is staring a hole through his front porch because he sees him having a hard time dragging these bodies. Well, what looks to be bodies to the officer and detective. Uh, and then the detective gets a little too close and is later murdered by David with a hit in the head with a hammer. And he keeps going to town on him, and then he gets away. He more or less gets away throughout this movie. Every time the police are on his trail, he either runs away or gets away. Uh, he goes to stay with his dad, who is, like I said, was played by Bill Moseley. But to cut back, it opens up in 1992 with David O'Hara's father, Mr. O'Hara, shoving his David's sister in the pool and letting her drown. It's later revealed, what goes on there, but I think maybe that incident is really what set David off. Like he thought it was okay to harm women. That's the message I got. Uh, but one of the women that gets taken by David, Melissa, like I said in the synopsis, is impregnated, and cops swoop in, get her, and save her, and they take her into custody, and 9 months passes, and in that time, obviously, she's had the baby. Let's see. Oh, and then the killing starts all over again, and the police are like, well, you know what he did? He waited 9 months to start back up again, and Dr. Gardner is paid a visit to Melissa to check up on her to see if she's okay, because he knows she'd been through quite a bit, and then like I said, David goes to see his dad and tells him, what's went down. Is his dad knows he's did wrong, but he just basically is shut down to himself, because I think he still, obviously regrets killing the David's kid sister, and having to live with that the rest of his life. But there's a part in this movie where David is confronted by Doug Bradley, Agent Wilson. When he comes out of the barn, he's kind of like hiding there with a gun ready, and aims it at David. And Bill Moseley's character, Mr. O'Hara here, doubles back and pulls out a rifle and shoots Doug Bradley. And later on, David's dad, Mr. O'Hara, confesses to shooting Agent Wilson, and that he murdered the kid's sister, so they put him in jail or prison. It looked more like jail, but it looked like it could have been prison at the same time, or like a holding cell, more or less, or something, until he's arraigned or whatever. But basically, it looked like to me David and his father had a pretty good relationship. I don't know if I'd been able to do that. I know it's my son, but he's a monster in this. The dad knows he's brutal, and he knows he's done all these killings. I don't know. I don't think I would have. I probably would have turned him in, just because of the brutality and how many women. It's revealed that he's killed six women in this movie. Let's see. David has many heart-to-hearts with his father in this, and I don't know. I just like I said, I don't think if I was as a father myself, I know it's my son or daughter or whatever, but if I had known that they had done or were even accused of it, and it was likely they did it, I would have had like a lot of hang-ups with what they did. But then Agent Wilson from the FBI shows up at David's dad's house, following him, or telling him about his trouble, and that he's killed 6 people and held Melissa hostage. David's dad doesn't seem to be too troubled by the allegations, and is lying to keep the cops off David's tail, and tells him that he does not keep in contact with David all that much, and is not but this was going back before when Agent Wilson showed up there to confront him before he was murdered. But he wasn't ever convinced of David not coming into contact with his dad. Um, Melissa then is asked if she wants to issue a statement at the local precinct where it is implied that Melissa killed her baby when she was captured because she knew that if she took the baby away from David, that it would more or less make him mad, and she didn't want her baby to have to be brought into a world of evilness like with life with David, and but since Melissa is admitted to the hospital where Dr. Gardner tells the police she's ready to make her statement. Dr. Gardner, once again, was played by Bill Moseley. My only complaint is I would have had a little bit more Sid Haig and a little bit more Doug Bradley. Like I said, the main character that's supposed to be Bundy looked a lot more like Jeffrey Dahmer, but did Ted Bundy, style killings. And if I remember right, Ted Bundy tended to go for like even younger girls, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if there was some plot points that were kind of twisted around a little. And then there's a scene of a trio of prostitutes that are shown talking, and David goes to one of them and has his way with her. I think he handcuffs her and tells her, before that, tells her to take her clothes off. And is going to use surgical skills of his own to cut her to pieces. And this is where the part got really kind of weird for me, because it was like they were trying to throw us off, because it kind of looked like David, but he was wearing a hood. And he did like a really massive number on her, cutting her up. But cops chase him down, and it isn't even David at all. It's a copycat killer named Jamie Miller. And that basically the cops still have an APB out on David O'Hara for running loose. Like I said earlier in the review, David's father confesses to killing Agent Wilson and the kid's sister. And I think at some point David's father told them that she wasn't supposed to be born, and she should have had your mother should have had an abortion. The father was, I thought Bill Moseley's character, he played his part good, but I thought he was really a bit of a scumbag, really, because you kill your 3 or 4 year old daughter, forcing her to jump into water when she can't swim. I mean, I just didn't understand, where they were going with that, other than David had a hard life. Part of the problem with this movie for me was the pacing of the movie. Everything else was pretty decent to okay, but I thought the pacing was all over the place. Like, it felt like it wanted to go in one direction, then it'd go back another one, and like I said, I didn't really like the copycat killer thing, because it just seemed so random throwing it in there. Basically, later on, it showed that Melissa's trying to rebuild the pieces that David has made her life a living hell. David is, let's see, I think he's cornered at some point by another detective. Shot in the shoulder, but manages to live through that, and then kills the detective, gets away, and I believe he then takes the dead detective's car out into the country and begins to basically hoof it with a backpack, and that's the way it ends. There's nothing really resolved. That was a big problem with me. I think it should have at least been, maybe him cornered and shot or whatever. I think, like I said, it just seems so not really final. I mean, I know if they planned on a sequel, that's one thing, but I don't know, I just didn't really care for this movie all that much. It was, the kills were pretty gruesome and everything. That's not the problem. My problem with it was it just was very vanilla. It was, just I don't know, it just didn't feel very. It didn't really mesh with me. Like I didn't like it as much as I did High Eight, the last movie I did, the anthology film. But it's given a 3.6 out of 10. It's definitely not that bad. Rotten Tomatoes, it's 17%. I would say it's decently higher than that too, but I don't know really on the Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb scale. Well, more like IMDb scale, I probably know, but because they kind of rate like I do. But the Rotten Tomatoes, I have no idea on that end. But IMDb, I would put it somewhere, maybe about a. Has a lot of problems in certain scenes. I'll say about a 6 out of 10. It could have been a lot more. It's no fault of the director or anything like that. It's just I felt like the synopsis, the whole point of the movie really didn't live up to the name Bundy in my eyes. I just felt like it was just done to get people to, buy it or whatever. Honestly, I would have just went with the Inflicted. It would have made more sense because I don't know. I just think putting Bundy Reborn on it just kind of gets a falsity of sorts. But you can't like them all, and I just thought this was one of the weaker Wild Eye ones that I've done. I love the a lot number of the cast. I noticed a few times the actress that played Melissa, her acting was it's kind of bad in certain scenes. No knock on her, but I just thought it just kind of seemed like all, plain or dull or mundane kind of acting. But that's my review for this morning, and I'm sorry I can't honestly say I'd recommend it. It's kind of hit or miss. I think if you like the Bundy lore, maybe you'd be interested, but if not, I don't know. You could do worse, but you could do a lot better too. I know there's a Jeffrey Dahmer movie out there. There's several John Wayne Gacy movie out there. Those movies are much better, and they're done. I mean, their budget's probably bigger on those, but still, really, really not very memorable. A lot of this movie, because it felt kind of like a violent Lifetime movie. That's what it felt like. It just add nudity and killing, and it just felt kind of like a Lifetime movie for me. It just really didn't build any suspense. Really wasn't all that scary. You got to have more than a menacing look to this. You have to feel like the killer really drives you nuts in this. Like he's intimidating, and I didn't. Other than a few cold stares, I really wasn't intimidated by this guy. Other than him, just the way he was, he just wasn't very intimidating. I wanted to like this one. I can't say. I mean, it wasn't bad at all, but it wasn't the greatest either. But that's my review this morning, and I'm sorry I overran a little bit with this one because there was so much going on. Like I said, it was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of poor pacing throughout. Felt like it wanted to be one movie, then being not another. But that's my review for this morning. But I'll be putting this up on the channel and getting it out on social media and stuff, and letting people know about this review. But I can't honestly say it was the greatest, and I'll see you in the next Wild Eye review. And thank you, Wild Eye, and for the opportunity once again. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. See you later. Bye.